or ride or die.
Welcome back to the channel. Today you join me from the driver's seat. We're in a 2015 Audi S1. Interesting car this, because if you didn't know, this is a four-wheel drive manual variant of a very small chassis that Audi obviously make and produce, but it has the 2-litre turbocharged engine up front. This one 330 brake horsepower basically, from the Devil Development Stage 1 remount that this car has. They're about 230 from the factory, so a good 90 to 100 brake horsepower increase in this S1 today. But as ever, guys, we're going to hit some B-roads, see what this car is like, sort of pitch it against the Fiesta ST and various other cars that I've driven that are this price point and this sort of level of hot hatch excitement. This is a very different recipe though from, of course, in my opinion, I love Audis, I love RS models especially. So it was really interesting for me to see what this car is like, the potential it has down the B roads. But as ever, guys, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, but onwards to the B roads.
We're interrupting today's video to give a massive thank you to today's sponsor, Yes Auto. Yes Auto is the one-stop shop for buying any car, with an experience that's always easy and enjoyable. Navigating onto the website, you can select each brand that you want to look at, each model, and even down to colour variant. You can also select through the images, as well as looking at brand new cars in 360 degrees inside and out. I myself spend a lot of time just looking at cars for sale, so it's awesome to jump on the Yes Auto website to have a look at cars for sale. You can even do a smart search on new and used cars with an option to select cash price or monthly costs. Their aim is to make car buying easy and enjoyable. Yes Auto are the one-stop shop offering a simple, impartial way to configure and compare new and used cars from almost any manufacturer, with a whole load of clever tools and media content for total reassurance. Once again, a huge thank you to Yes Auto for sponsoring today's video. There is a link in the description to the Yes Auto website. Thank you so much again to Yes Auto for sponsoring today's video, but let's get back to the action.
When I do a newer, hot hatch that's a little bit more money, and I call it a young driver's abuse, some people get very, very funny with me. So I'm going to break down costs more than anything and driver experience and engagement in this car, because as a young driver, you want something exciting and fun, and if you want something relatively new and on finance, this is probably up there with your choices, against a, say, Mark 8 ST and various cars just like this one. So price wise, 15, 16, 17,000 pounds you can get yourself into one of these for. That is, if you've got a good credit score, say, let's talk about financing, £3,000 to £5,000 deposit, it's £300 to £400 to £500 a month, depending if you want, a balloon payment if it's new enough, or your credit score isn't as good. That's about what you would be working with, deposit and finance wise. But of course, go out there, if you're after one of these, go and get a finance quote. There will be the numbers in front of you. That's just a ballpark figure for you guys to work off. So if you have a full-time job and you love Audis and you want something like this and you don't want an S3, this could be the car that you'd be looking at. Tax wise, £230 if you're going to monthly pay it, and it's £60 to fill this up. I did a little nosing around online. So many people were thinking that the Fiesta was the more dominant and more fuel economy based car. Yes, that has got a 3-cylinder, and we don't have one today, and we can't do a Versus unfortunately, but I have driven one of them for an extended period of time when I had the AT Motorsport one, so it's nice to see the difference. Now, the first difference I've noticed is I think the Fiesta might have a slightly more room inside it. Not really something you really care about when you're young, if I'm quite honest. I'm a slightly larger lad, you know me, and I would say that there is definitely more size Not huge difference, but I think there is a difference from the Fiesta into this one. And boot space is another thing, because there is you know, four-wheel drive system. The boot space in this is a lot smaller, so take that into consideration if you are a grown-up trying to be grown-up but you're younger, if that makes any sense. I know some people may not care about that out there if you're younger and you're not really bothered about size of the car and whatever. You just want to, you know, an S model, an Audi S model, or a you know, an ST or whatever it is. I think some people may take that into consideration if they're actually up for getting one of these. So some things to think about. There's a big lorry coming over this. That is actually, that's large vehicle. Just as well, we're in a small one. If we were in an S3 then, I'd have definitely had to put this in the hedge. So as a young driver, I'd have been a lot happier that this car was a lot smaller in that situation. Good bit of advice there. Smaller car, easier to get through little gaps, especially when there's a big truck coming over a single bridge there. So guys, I've just pulled over. Let's have a quick look around this Audi S1. Now, I really like the look of these. When they came out, I love the, not necessarily broadness and all that sort of stuff, because they're not too much bigger than the original A1s, but love the bumpers and the spoiler and various other things. But I will go through and show you guys the bits that I really like. Again, I like Audi products. I'm a big fan of S and RS models. So there is that. Please take that into consideration when watching this part of the video. So coming up front, we have this broader looking front bumper. Now, the thing to talk about here is it's actually been swapped out for an RS style front grille, something that you would definitely have to do because they don't look like this from the factory. This is something that you need to do to every S1, so that's something you can get off eBay, you know, relatively inexpensive. I do like how deep the bumper is, comes around here. It looks very S or RS-esque. If you do look at the RS3s, say, and the S3s, they do have this same sort of dimensions. This is just in a smaller package. So front end looks really cool. Do like the headlights as well. Very intricate look, very cool. Coming around the back, I did just have to move the car because we were in a perilous position there, lots of traffic, many walkers today on this fine July day. But the rear end is where I really like this car. It's a bit more purposeful. The front bumper is really cool. You got a relatively, I'm not going to say bland side, but there is not too much going on down the side of this car. But the back end, quad exhaust tips with a diffuser just at the bottom there. But again, just relatively, I'm not going to say bland, but it's relatively normal all the way up to this spoiler. It is so cool. I love the look of this spoiler, and in fact it's the same sort of spoiler you can get on R's and GTIs, you know, Mark 7s. You can get this spoiler. It looks really cool. I think it gives so much purpose to this little thing, and I'm so glad they stuck that on top. If they'd have gone for just a flick up spoiler, it would not have looked as good. So that's something I'm such a big fan of, and I'm glad they went ahead with. Again, something I've already said, if you guys care or don't care, depending on how grown up you really are, this is the size of the boot. Very small really, and it does intrude battery there and stuff. It does intrude massively because of the four-wheel drive system. It does sit obviously underneath the car at the back. A lot of normal A1s of course wouldn't have this because they're front wheel drive, but because this is a quattro all-wheel drive system, or at least all-wheel drive when it wants to be, this is the sort of boot space you will be working with. Also, as the boot's up, I'll just show you guys, there's the rear lights. They're actually on the boot, and they've had to put lights here. Obviously when you're pulled over, you're stranded, you've got your boot up, they had to put lights on the inside as well, just so there is some sort of lighting or reflector actually on the body of the car when the boot's up. Again, another little thing that you probably have never really noticed, but I thought it was pretty cool. Now, stepping in the car, we are coming in the passenger side. Relatively normal door cards and various other little bits and bobs. Flip up screen, it flips up as you start the car. And again, relatively normal, or at least understated center section here with chrome dials. You've got your 6-speed manual box just here, and half leather interior. Half leather being a slightly soft word that I'm going to use because it is pretty much all leather except for this small bit in the center. Very comfortable seats, sort of buckety as well, actually quite broad on the sides here, which is fantastic news for me. I like when you feel like you're actually in these little hot hatches, and flat bottom steering wheel with those really cool dials. We will go into the back of the car just to show you guys. It's a small car, this, a very small car. So the rear legroom, obviously in my driving position, has a lot to be desired for. You could get 2 people in here very easily, but there is only 2 seat belts. I will say that now, there is only 2 seat belts for 2 seats in the back of this thing. So this isn't a 5-seater S1, this is a 4-seater car. So take that into consideration. If you do ever need to take someone in the middle, there is absolutely no seat belt, as you can see. Not even a fastener at the bottom, and nothing at the top, and nothing there. Just 2 seat belts. Other than that, guys, these things are super cool, really good through the bends, and obviously massive power gains if you are going to map it. But let's jump back in the car and go down some B roads that way. Now, I did talk to the owner, and she was saying, you know, on a run, we're touching 40s on this thing very easily. Around the island, you know, around the Isle of Wight where I am, you know, around town and stuff, you are low 30s, you know, mid 20s if you're really enjoying yourself, which again is another thing to talk about. This thing is very good on fuel. Yes, that might be down to the remapping. Sometimes if you do map a car up, it does change the dynamic and the MPG figure goes up. Now, power-wise, 330, let's say, from this stage 1 S1. First thing to talk about, if you're going to stage 1 your car, going to stage 1 one of these S1s, do a clutch at the same time, because straight away you will notice clutch slip. It's a very vague thing, you know, Audi, VW, the manual, even manual Golf R's, if you map them, the clutches starts going. This is no exception. The clutch started going, not straight away, but you did notice a clutch slip after this was remapped on a stage 1, taking it from, you know, the 230 up to 330. Noticed pretty much, you know, in the first week that the clutch was slipping. This has got a Satch clutch in it. Royally fast, this thing. Bloody normal, that is impressive. 6-speed box as well, which means, you know, on the motorway you can crank it into 6 and just cruise. But yeah, taking it up that power, all of these cars, the Golf R's and, you know, these S1s and various cars from this generation of Audi and VW go through the same thing, where if you map it, the clutch starts going. So factor in a clutch. If you're going to buy one of these and you want to do stuff to it, factor in the fact that you're going to have to put a clutch in it. This has got a Satch one, you know, £500, £600, £700. You've got to think about that when doing that stage 1. That's going to probably have to be your next mod. If not, other way around, do the clutch first and then do your mapping. This has also got a Miltech exhaust system, only a small back box. Can't really hear a lot inside, if I'm honest. We'll change the drive select mode over from auto to efficiency. Go efficiency to auto to dynamic. Dynamic's key. That changes this car and it changes the way it performs. Throttle response is a bit better. That's fast, isn't it? Very fast. That's really impressively fast, that. What a cool little car. The reality is, pitching this against an ST is a bit unfair on the S1, I think, because it's heavier, it's got the 4-wheel drive system, it's a bit more of a bulkier car in the sense that it's got more refinement in it, I think, more than anything. And yes, we're not pitching those 2 cars against each other, but it's always nice to pick one against the other, in the sense that I can see, you know, understand how this car reacts in a different way to that one. This one feels a lot more robust. It feels like you've got a lot more power. I think the ST will be more fun around the bends, but this one has the traction around the bends, so you've got to remember that. And, you know, we're slightly wet today. It is a damp July, and I have no worries about this car coming out. I have no worries about it not putting its power to the floor, and that's the reality. If you like your front wheel drive stuff, I couldn't talk you out of a front wheel drive hot hatch. If you like your 4-wheel drive stuff and, you know, you want an Audi, I can't talk you out of buying one of these, because you will just go and buy one anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? It's hard though, because if you want an S1, bloody Nora, 3rd gear is absolutely phenomenal. Past about 3,500 RPM. That is a rapid little car. Really impressive. Considering I drive cars a lot, this has a little bit of something that the others don't. It's got a slimness to it, it's got a tightness to it, it's got the manual box with the 4-wheel drive system, and it's really hard to find something like that, because a Golf R doesn't feel like this, you know, a manual one, so it doesn't feel like this. And I've said this previously in, you know, S1 related content, but never really driven one like this, you know, just a relatively standard mapped up version. If Audi, this is the reality, right? If Audi had put a DSG box in this, then you mapped it up, it would have been hilariously faster than a Golf R and an S3. That's the way I see this car. So they tried to dumb it down, in my opinion, with this manual box. It's not dumbed down at all, you know, it's a really, really good driving experience with that manual box on a small, tight chassis that's four-wheel drive. But if they'd have put a DSG box in it, it would have laughed in the face of the S3. And they didn't want to do that, did they? So you've got to take that into consideration when buying this car, and then you go out in an S3, say, the same sort of generation, same sort of pricing, there is going to be a difference there where you will feel the S3 is a different chassis with a different gearbox versus a manual S1. It's just very, very different driving experience. Two very, very different cars, really, although you would expect them to be, you know, quite similar. This one drives completely differently. So there you go, guys, ownership review, you know, young driver's review, really, of this car. If you are after one, finance it. But I think as a young driver, if you could get in one of these and understand that this chassis and the four-wheel drive system and the manual gearbox and how much you can really, you know, potential-wise, you can get out of these just as they are. Yes, you've got to throw a clutch in it, but this is an absolute weapon for anybody out there that is young and wants a fast car. It is biblical. If you're in your early 20s, say, and you've got a good job and you're going to work and you want something like this, go and have a look. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did like this video, if you like the style of the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you all on the next one.